The circus arrives without warning. It is simply there, when yesterday it was not. Against the grey sky, the towering tents are striped black and white. A sign hanging upon iron gates reads, "Open at nightfall, closes at dawn." As dusk shifts to twilight, tiny lights begin to flicker all over the tents, as though the whole circus is covered in fireflies. When the tents are aglow, sparkling against the night sky, a sign lights up. Le Cirque des Rêves, the circus of dreams. The gates shudder and unlock, seemingly by their own volition. They swing outward, inviting the crowd inside. Now the circus is open. Now you may enter.
Wormwood's father thinks she's a little scab. Matilda's mother spends all afternoon playing bingo. And Matilda's headmistress, Miss Trunchbull, well, she's the worst of all. She's a big bully who thinks all her pupils are rotten and locks them in the dreadful chokey. And as for Matilda, she's an extraordinary little girl with a magical mind, and now she's had enough. So all these grown-ups had better watch out, because Matilda is going to teach them a lesson they'll never forget. Happy, Wilbur?
The wheel of time turns and ages come and go, leaving memories that become legend. Legend fades to myth, and even myth is long forgotten when the age that it gave birth returns again. In the third age, an age of prophecy, the world and time themselves hang in the balance. What was, what will be, and what is may yet fall under the shadow. When the Two Rivers is attacked by Trollocs, a savage tribe of half men, half beasts, 5 villagers flee that night into a world that barely imagined, with new dangers waiting in the shadows and in the light.
Harry Potter thinks he's an ordinary boy until he is rescued by a beetle-eyed giant of a man, enrolls at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, learns to play Quidditch, and does battle in deadly duel. The reason?
Austen. There are 5 daughters in the Bennet family, and marriage is the only career open to them. There is naturally much excitement when 2 young men of good fortune move into the district. But before there can be a happy ending, the hero must conquer his overwhelming pride, and Elizabeth, the spirited heroine, her prejudices against him. Only by taking the route to self-knowledge can they reach a mature understanding of each other and find lasting contentment.
Souls cross ages like clouds cross skies. 6 interlocking lives, one amazing adventure, in a narrative that circles the globe and reaches from the 19th century to a post-apocalyptic future. Dating the boundaries of time, genre and language to offer an enthralling vision of humanity's will for power and where it will lead.
By Jane Austen. Like her earlier works, Persuasion is a tale of love and marriage told with the irony, insight and just evaluation of human conduct which sets her novels apart. But the heroine, like the author, is more mature. The tone of the writing is more somber. Anne Elliot and Captain Wentworth have met and separated years before. Their reunion forces a recognition of the false values that drove them apart. The characters who embody those values are the subjects of some of the most withering satire that Jane Austen ever wrote.
It's 1969. And holed up in a grimy tenement building in New York's Lower East Side is a travelling psychic who claims to be able to tell anyone the date they will die. The 4 gold children, too young for what they're about to hear, sneak out to learn their fortunes. Such prophecies could be dismissed as trickery and nonsense, yet the golds bury theirs deep. Over the years that follow, they might attempt to ignore, embrace, cheat or defy the knowledge given to them that day. But it will shape the course of their lives forever.
Her name is Dina. In the Bible, her fate is merely hinted at in a brief and violent detour within the verses of the book of Genesis that recount the life of Jacob and his infamous dozen sons. The Red Tent is an extraordinary and engrossing tale of ancient womanhood and family honour. Told in Dina's voice, it opens with the story of her mothers, the 4 wives of Jacob, each of whom embodies unique feminine traits, and concludes with Dina's own startling and unforgettable story of betrayal, grief and love. Deeply affecting and intimate, The Red Tent combines outstandingly rich storytelling with an original insight into women's society in a fascinating period of early history. It is guaranteed to win the hearts and minds of women across the world.
Hi everyone, my favourite book is The Time Traveller's Wife by Audrey Niffenegger. Okay, and the back says, this is the extraordinary love story of Claire and Henry, who met when Claire was 6 and Henry was 36, and were married when Claire was 22 and Henry 30. Impossible, but true, because Henry suffers from a rare condition where his genetic clock periodically resets and he finds himself pulled suddenly into his past or his future. In the face of this force they can neither prevent nor control, Henry's and Claire's struggle to lead normal lives is both intensely moving and entirely unforgettable.
It's difficult to believe that Henry's modest plan could have worked so well, despite these unforeseen events. We hadn't intended to hide the body where it couldn't be found. In fact, we hadn't hidden it at all, but had simply left it where it fell, in the hopes that some luckless passerby would stumble over it before anyone even noticed he was missing.
Austen's Pride and Prejudice. There are 5 daughters in the Bennet family, and marriage is the only career open to them. There is naturally much excitement when 2 young men of good fortune move into the district. But before there can be a happy ending, the hero must conquer his overwhelming pride on Elizabeth, the spirited heroine, who prejudiced against him. Only by taking the route to self-knowledge can they reach a mature understanding of each other and find lasting content.
Review. This is what he remembers as he sits by the ocean at the end of the lane. A dead man on the back seat of the car and warm milk at the farmhouse. An ancient little girl and an old woman who saw the moon being made. A beautiful housekeeper with a monstrous smile. And dark forces, woken, that were best left undisturbed. They are memories hard to believe, waiting at the edges of things. The recollections of a man who thought he was lost, but is now, perhaps, remembering a time when he was saved.
Delia Owens. For years, rumours of the Marsh Girl have haunted Berkeley Cove, a quiet town on the North Carolina coast. So in late 1969, when handsome Chase Andrews is found dead, the locals immediately suspect Kaya Clark, the so-called Marsh Girl. But Kaya is not what they say.
The next day, to pay Mr. Twit back for the frog trick, Mrs. Twit sneaked out into the garden and dug up some worms. She chose big long ones and put them in a tin and carried them back to the house under her apron. At 1 o'clock, she cooked spaghetti for lunch, and she mixed the worms in with the spaghetti, but only on her husband's plate. The worms didn't show because everything was covered with tomato sauce and sprinkled with cheese.
It's New York in the 1940s, where the martinis flow from cocktail hour till breakfast at Tiffany's. And nice girls don't, except, of course, Holly Golightly. Pursued by mafia gangsters and playboy millionaires, Holly is a fragile eye full of tawny hair and turned-up nose, a heartbreaker, a perplexer, a traveller, a tease. She is irrepressibly top banana in the shock department and one of the shining flowers of American fiction.